Hi everybody, welcome to the dungeon. My name is Robin and today is Flameworking 102.89, a Millefiori marble. I've always been attracted to glass. I've always been inspired by glass. And the one thing that I've always admired is the Italian glass artists who make the Murrini Mandalas and then slice them and grind them and polish them and make these beautiful pendants out of them. I have a ton of materials that I have gathered and squirreled away over the last 30 years. And I got a lot of Murrinis. I went through a whole bunch of my different containers of Murrinis and came up with my own little mandala that I want to pick up in a marble. It was bigger than I expected, but I was ready for the challenge. I hope you all enjoy this Murrini, I can't even say it. I hope you all enjoy this Murrini Mandala marble. And with that said, I hope you're all doing safe and well out there. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time in the dungeon. Okay, to begin everything out, I wanted to make sure that I had my pattern ready to go and laid out. And around this pattern, I have extras just in case something goes wrong. And what everything is comprised of is one of these big, this is the large transparent Millefiori. And then I have a border of, I grabbed some of these pink, this pink mix, as well as a green mix, and I grabbed some of those for the border. So hopefully, if you have some Murrini, you can pick out, the ones that you want if you're interested in making something like this. And before I begin, I was looking at this pattern and I was like, well, I need to start in the center. So I need to be able to access the center of all of this. So I'm going to spend just a few minutes to straighten out my pattern. So then everything is pretty much ready to go and easy for me to pick up with my tweezers. All right. So now at this point, we are going to go ahead and start out by just gathering a lot of clear. And I am using an 8mm rod, I believe. And it's a lot easier to build up that amount of clear with a thicker rod. It's easier to hold all of that glass on the end. And before I really start gathering things up, I'm going to add a little bit on the end of a metal punty rod and just kind of have a collar ready to go, so when I get the gather as big as I need it to be, I can attach it to my punty. So I'm keeping the punty warm in the back of the flame while I build up this gather. And this gather is about, at least a ½ an inch is what I kind of start out with. And then when I get to that point, I kind of let the bottom of it cool down for a second so that when I make the attachment, the glass doesn't go over the punty. And then from there, I can continue to add a little bit more glass. And I'm trying to get about I'm looking for 1 inch. That's the size I'm going for, about 1 inch worth of a glass ball here. And once I think I have that amount, I will just start to heat it up and get it ready to shape. So I have 2 marble molds today. I have this large one, and I finally measured them for the first time. I was just kind of eyeballing them. But this large one is 1.5 inches exactly. And it turns out that my smaller marble mold that I always thought was a 1-inch marble mold is actually 1.25 inch marble mold. So it's a little bit bigger than 1 inch. So hopefully that will kind of help you guesstimate, the size of what I'm working with, when you're looking at it. All right, so once I have that ready, this is important. I let the punty side cool down, and I heat up just the bottom. Let the punty side cool down, heat up just the bottom, and when you go to press it, you will have a much better chance of getting a nice rounded disc. Now I'm going to check my size. A little, oh, that's perfect. It's exactly 1 1/4 inches, which is just about the size of my Murrini package of this mandala. So I'm going to press this down just to make it a little bit wider to make up for the amount I need for that final edge border. All right, now we're ready to start adding these Murrinis. And I want to make sure that when I grab each Murrini, I have a very secure and tight grip on it so I don't lose it. I tend to lose some here and there, and I'm just barely holding it on the edge of the flame here. I'm really more so heating up the center of my clear so that when I add the Murrini, it will just gently attach to the center of the clear. And of course, I didn't hit it in the center. I'm off. So before that Murrini can get any hotter, I need to come down and kind of pull that Murrini more into the center of my disc, or everything is going to be off. But you have to do that almost immediately. Okay, so now at this point, I'm just going to flatten this out just a very small amount. I'm going to keep everything raised up here as I add it. Okay, so now for the next 6 or 7 minutes, we are going to go ahead and just continuously add the Murrinis. And this one almost didn't make it. But it really is a matter of getting the heat where you need it to be on the clear, as well as making sure your Murrini is just slightly tacky enough to stick to the clear glass. So you're kind of gently heating up both spots, but you're trying not to heat up the clear so much that you are melting the Murrinis that you're laying down. So it takes time to kind of figure, this out. But this would also look great with just a whole bunch of different types of Murrinis and a really nice collage of them as well. I just thought it would be a lot of fun to try to make an actual Millefiori mandala. And I'm just going to continue all the way around. Every now and then I have to add it and then just gently push it a little closer to the center Murrini. It's hard for me to get the placement just, dead on. I think the Murrini is one of the very first things that attracted me to glass blowing. And, when I was in college, first starting out, I was always trying to look up different glass artists. And, in the mid-90s, there weren't a lot of books out on glass artists other than, Dale Chihuly. But I was able to find quite a bit of information on an artist who I just absolutely loved. And his name is Richard Marcus. And he was one of the first artists that I was like, wow, that's the kind of work I want to make. One of those things. I was just so inspired by his Murrini work. So that was one of the first things I always enjoyed to do, is making simple bullseye Murrini for my glass work. So it's fun to be able to get back into it a little bit using these Murano-made Millefioris. And of course, the Millefiori means 1,000 flowers. And I'm sure it's because when they pull these flower canes, you get about probably 1,000 little chips of flowers out of it. No, maybe not 1,000, but you definitely get hundreds. And it's just amazing to watch these Murrinis actually being made and pulled in the factory. All right, we are to our outer border now. I'm so surprised that I've made it this far, you guys. And I do notice that this outer border, it could have been a little wider. So, the border is not as perfect as I was hoping it would be. But at this point, all you can do is just continue to plug forward and, do your best to continue to place each chip as close as possible as to where you need it to go. And I'm getting a little closer. Another thing I noticed when working with these Murrinis is it's best if you find all of the same size Murrinis. If one is a little shorter than another, it might not necessarily work out as well next to a shorter one. I mean, this whole thing is full of different sizes. It's just things that I think about along the way as I make all these. Like, I should have thought about grabbing them all the same size. Then the border would be nice and even. But it was a little uneven on the border in the end. But nevertheless, I was really kind of proud of myself just for being able to finish this pattern. But yeah, Richard Marcus, he did a ton of Murrini work and very abstract pieces, beautiful vessels. He's really well known for his teapots. And I noticed that he always liked to include pieces from his collection into his artwork, like a salt and pepper shaker or something weird like that. And I really connected with him on that level because I myself and Patrick were both we both love to collect stuff. I mean, honestly, we need a house twice as big as we have now just to and maybe spread out our collection of art oddities and weird things that we like to have around the house. So it's always interesting when people come over, just because there's just so much to look at. It's almost overwhelming. And there are definitely days where it's just like I'm ready to just get a dumpster out in the front of my house and just start shoveling everything in my house away. Just get back to having, a minimal household. But I don't know if I could do that. I've always lived in a household or in a space surrounded by the things that I love. And I just love, different things, all sorts of objects you'll find in my house. From we have a curio cabinet that's full of all sorts of interesting religious relics, taxidermy pieces, fossils, rocks, just things from other countries, just all sorts of fun stuff. I love to collect. I had to stop collecting a long time ago, though, because we just have too much stuff. Okay, everything is finally on here, and I am so happy that it looks, just that it looks even this good. And this is, I would give this a rating of a C, if there was like a rating to give it, because it's definitely not an A job, but it's, it's better than a D. Anyway, it's really important to keep that punty warm. So I'm just giving my punty a little bit of heat and then focusing back on the front side. I also want to keep everything as straight and as balanced as possible on the end of my punty. And now it's really just a matter of flattening and shaping and smoothing everything down. I'm going to flatten this and try to kind of push those Murrinis in there a little bit. And then I noticed the sides, this edge really needs some help to pull it in. And as I was doing this, I thought, God, you know what? That border right there looks like a whole bunch of like decayed teeth. Doesn't it look like teeth right there? I swear, you guys, my whole life, there's something about teeth. I have been one of those people that have like the teeth nightmares. Some people don't have nightmares about teeth, but me, I would always have nightmares about my teeth falling out. Oh my gosh. And then boom, here I am with dentures, and I haven't had a nightmare about teeth since. Oh, it's so crazy. Anyway, so now that I have shaped up that, kind of shaped up that border, Remember, when you shape things up and you go back to reheat it, a lot of times it will expand again. So you have to continue to gently press things down a little at a time just to coax it into the shape you're looking for. And this is as close as I could get. It's not perfect, but I feel like is good enough to continue, right? I mean, I've been working on this thing for at least 45 minutes at this point. So what I figured is I would kind of help out the side here by adding a little extra clear, just to kind of pull that edge in and have, just a clear border around the whole thing. This is like the very center, obviously, of the whole marble. This is like the equator. And I'm going to, again, spend some time, always spend a little time just warming up the backside and the punty, not to where it's moving out of control like it is right here. But really, I'm just trying to heat in this clear band that I added. But the angle of my flame, it's really getting onto the punty as well. So I have to really watch where I'm heating. And now right on top of that, a little higher up, I'm going to add another wrap of clear, just to make sure that all of those Murrinis that are around the border are completely coated in clear on their sides. And there's quite a few of those Murrinis that are a lot shorter than the other ones, and that's where I had my issue. It was all about the Murrini height. That's how things kind of went off a little bit. So here, I'm doing my best to shape a little bit of that backside and press down the front, but more so kind of shaping that backside, getting it nice and curvy. And here is what we have so far. So this kind of looks like a Murrini embedded in a little nest of glass. Okay, so now this whole other part, this is like part 2 right here. Once you have your Murrini mandala on there and your border ready to go, what we need to do is just keep it warm in the back of the flame while you heat up your second gather of glass. And I did roll that into my 1.5 inch marble mold just to kind of make sure it fit in there. I was getting nervous that it was getting way too big. Okay, so it's just a matter of keeping that glass warm and getting your gather bigger and bigger and bigger. And this is again where that 8mm rod really comes in handy. So now that I feel like I have just enough, I could get more, but I have just enough, and it's starting to, get a little crazy on the end of my rod. So I want to immediately, I try to stop and push, yet I'm turning both the punty and the mandrel. Everything has to stay on center. Even though it looks sloppy when I attach it, I'm trying my best to keep everything turning on both sides at the same time. And then I'm just going to focus my heat only on the clear. This is so important because when you go to press it down, you won't be disturbing the Murrini underneath. And you want to do this quickly. As soon as you get that glass super, super hot, come out and press it down. It looks like a little hamburger. And sorry, I totally lost my train of thought. The hamburger got me. Okay, so now I'm going to kind of heat the edge of that disc of glass and start to kind of push it around and further out onto that bit of glass. And here I'm using the graphite paddle to just kind of heat the edge of the clear and continue to, what I'm trying to do is get the clear to meet the clear that I put on for the edges. And it's so close, but I didn't quite get there. So I figured I still have a bit of a kind of a shelf of clear. I'm going to use my small knife and just heat a little bit around the edge, a little at a time, and pull the rest of that clear, and you can see it pulling together there, and you can see the pattern kind of coming together and looking like it has more clarity. That's from the glass pushing up and butting up against the other side clear that I added. So it's finally, we have to get those two sides of clear to meet each other. You don't want any of your color seeping up through any areas that might not be completely encased in clear. All right, woo! I can't believe it. This is looking good, you guys, looking good. I thought at this point it would make such a beautiful pendant. Like you could flatten this out a little bit more, put a loop on it. That would be so beautiful. But I wanted to make a marble, so that's where I'm going. And, you know, the border isn't perfect on this. And at this point, I kind of knew it may not end up being like a perfect flat looking disc in the center of the marble. But I was okay with that. Just getting this far, I was totally okay with it. So now what we have to do, now that everything is encased, is heat this up a little bit more. And I'm just going to kind of make sure that it fits in my marble mold again. And now we can add one more big dollop of clear on this side because we have to make up for the rest of the marble. So I want at least as much clear on this side as on the back side. And again, it takes time. You have to, you know, do the whole heat balancing with your Murrini package in the back and your big clear gather in the front. All right, and it's going to be easier to drop this on because we already have a layer of clear. Just do your best not to trap any bubbles and just get that on there and go ahead, heat, and cast away. And then I will spend time again. This part is very interesting. A lot of this is kind of coming back to me from glass blowing, you know, in a larger studio. Just learning how to like kind of marver the glass. So I'm just going to paddle it down into another nice disc, and then I'm going to heat as much of it as possible and watch how the clear glass will go around the side a little bit to dome it out, and you immediately see that beautiful lens appear, and all that Murrini is like just standing out at you and just looks so good. Okay, so I'm just going to continue to heat this up. I am just getting that punty ready. I'm going to add a little bit more glass here just to fill in the rest of that disc area. I have several of these really beautiful Venetian glass mandalas, the Murrini mandalas, that are kind of a slice. It looks like this, but it's a slice of a bigger Murrini. And oh, they're so beautiful. And just the time it takes for them to cut them, to grind them down, polish them up, and set them in some kind of a bezel. An open bezel on both sides always looks good with these. All right, now it's just a matter of getting everything nice and hot and working the whole marble shape out. So I'm going to gently go in to my larger marble mold to get what is now going to be considered the back side nice and rounded and as perfectly marble shaped as possible. So now I'm going to start working in like hemispheres, one side versus the other side. And once I'm happy with the way this side looks, I'm going to go ahead and get ready to punty this up. A little bit more heating there. And I'm also kind of fire polishing as well, just making sure everything looks really, really visually good through the clear. And then I'm going to roll out my punty and then just let this marble cool down, because what I want is a very gentle stick to my marble. I'm sure you guys already realized that things are not going to go my way here in a second. Yeah, in the final pictures, the marble might not look as perfectly round as it could have been, but, you know, gosh, it just seems like something, you know, crazy has to happen every single time I do a demonstration or make something. It's something always happens when you least expect it to. Anyway, I want to round this end out, and I really kind of want to add a little bit more glass to it, but it just immediately came off my rod. So I'm trying not to panic and just like, I can't believe it. I just can't believe this. And I pick it up with my tweezers and I just kind of slop that other punty on. Yeah, so it's not like the best looking, perfectly round marble. It just kind of ended up being what it is. Anyway, I did my best to clean up that one side, and I should have spent a little bit more time on this side, really getting it into a true round. But either way, I did my best to continue to heat this up until I visually, you know, with my eye was like, okay, that's good. That's my side of the marble. But I could have spent a little bit longer heating it because there is a little bit of, it's not round. You can kind of see it in the light. So this time I opted for a punty, a metal punty, so I could spend a little bit of time cleaning all of this up and adding a little bit more glass to the back side to fill in for the rest of what I needed. And I'm back using my larger rod here that's popping away. Sometimes, you know, it really is, the glass is cold going into a hot flame. There are, most of the time when I introduce glass into the flame, it's very, very gently, and I just hold it to the edge of the flame and then start getting it hot. But with these larger rods, and then, you know, I'm kind of really not thinking about it. I'm more in a panic of like, I just need to get this rod getting hot. So with these larger rods, there might be a little bit of breakage when it goes into the flame again. Okay, so I'm adding a little bit more glass to the other side and trying to, you know, I noticed my punty is starting to crack, so I had to, you know, go over there and give my punty a little bit of heat and just try to get as much glass as I could over here to make up for how big this marble is. And I feel like I got the amount I needed at this point. Okay, so now I'm just going to heat everything in and round this thing out the best I can and put it away. This was definitely an adventure in Murrinis. And don't ever feel like you're cheating if you are not making your own Murrinis. Murrini making is a whole other, you know, thing onto itself almost. I know a lot of glass artists who make Murrinis amazing, and they'll even say, I love making Murrinis, but when it comes to putting them in beads, I don't really, you know, I just like to make them Murrinis. So a lot of times they will either, you know, they make and sell their Murrinis to, you know, for other artists to use, because it's very time consuming, and it's a whole nother, like I said, it's a whole other thing. Anyway, so it's great that we are able to purchase and buy Murrinis, and there are so many people that have their special Murrinis online. You can pretty much find anything in any shape, in any color that you want. if you just look, if you're just looking for, to buy Murrinis. Anyway, we're getting really close to being done here. And I'm just going to do some final shaping on this before I decide to put it away. So it's a lot of heating, and I'm just, trying my best to keep everything as hot as possible, but not uncontrollable hot. Okay, so I'm going to go into my mold for a final rounding here. It looks good. They still look like teeth on the border to me. It still looks like teeth. You have to tell me. Let me know if any of you guys, because I know some people who have never dreamt about losing their teeth, and I find that fascinating. Like, how's that possible? I thought everybody had dreams, like that. But turns out it's not true. We don't all dream about losing our teeth. Now, this last roll in the marble mold, I felt like the skin of my marble was a little warm because it left not really a chill mark, but kind of a chill mark all over the piece. So I'm really spending a lot longer than I probably needed to if things hadn't have dropped on me in the first place. I'm just spending a lot longer trying to just get this as perfectly round as possible. And a little bit of heating there on that bottom edge too. This is where I need to be careful because that punty is definitely, we're just trying to balance, you're balancing this little heavy ball on the end of a stick. It's not the easiest thing to do. All right, so at this point, I'm feeling good about putting on my final punty. Just want to keep everything warm, finish my rounding, and then let it set up for a little bit. When you're getting into marbles that are this big, it takes a little bit longer for them to cool down. However, when it starts to cool down, the inside will remain hot, but the outside gets cold. And if you don't kind of try to maintain that heat and keep the outside warm, so at some point it will be nice and warm throughout the piece. Having the hard shell and the warm inside doesn't always work out well. That's all I'm saying. Until you put it away. Anyway, we're getting there, and you see how long it takes me to just kind of let things settle in as I kind of flash it here and there. But I love what's going on the inside. All right, so it's a little bit of heat and a very gentle stick. And just doing my best to keep everything together at this point and very gently take off the metal punty side. And sometimes it'll leave like a little maybe smudge or something. So you want to make sure you get rid of that. So I got my tweezers handy just to take that little tiny bit out of there. And then from there, it's just a really good fire polish before you're ready to cool that side down and put it away. And I will spend a few moments just kind of trying to even the heat out. I think this is like the biggest marble I've ever made, you guys. And it came off great. I was so happy. So here I am, gonna just very gently tap it off there. Maybe it didn't come off perfectly great. It did come out with a little ding in there. Anyway, it is what it is, and I love it, and I hope you guys do too. And with that said, I'll see you next time in the dungeon.